Welcome, dear friends. Blessed Advent to you. Today's podcast honors the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception with reflections drawn from the spiritual classic Divine Intimacy, meditations on the interior life for every day of the liturgical year by Father Gabriel of St. Mary Magdalen, OCD. For more Carmelite resources, visit the General Curia of the Teresian Carmel at discalcedcarmelite.com. Now let us begin our journey into Father Gabriel's profound spiritual insights.
Welcome. I'm so glad we can explore the Immaculate Conception together, such a beautiful and important part of our faith. You've brought divine intimacy to our attention. I'm really looking forward to going deeper into its reflections, especially as we journey through Advent.
The Immaculate Conception, as we prepare for Christmas, it's such a wonderful time to reflect. A time for us to prepare our hearts, just as Mary prepared to receive Christ.
Such a beautiful way to put it. It's more than just history. It's about entering into Advent more deeply. And the book makes this connection so beautifully. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception is in perfect harmony with the spirit of Advent. While the soul is preparing for the coming of the Redeemer, it is fitting to think of her, the all-pure one who was his mother. Mary's purity, it really becomes a model for how we prepare ourselves spiritually.
And it really echoes our Carmelite tradition, that interior purification, that detachment from the world as we seek a deeper union with God. Just as Mary was prepared for Christ, we too are called to purify our hearts, to make space for God within us.
And this idea of preparation, it takes us all the way back to the beginning. Genesis 3:15, God speaking to the serpent after the fall. I will put enmities between thee and the woman, and thy seed and her seed. She shall crush thy head. We talk about this verse with Jesus' victory over sin, but it also points to Mary's special place in salvation history.
Absolutely. It's like that first glimpse of God's plan to redeem us. The woman, it's understood to be Mary, and her offspring, Jesus, who will ultimately defeat the serpent, that symbol of evil and sin. But the verse isn't just about future victory. It's about Mary's vital part in this whole drama of salvation. She is chosen, set apart, prepared for something truly unique.
And that leads us right to the heart of the Immaculate Conception, that Mary was preserved from original sin from the very first moment. The book describes her as full of grace. What a powerful phrase. What does it really mean for Mary to be full of grace?
Well, you see, it's not just the absence of sin. It's a positive overflowing of God's life within her. It's about being in perfect harmony with God, a complete openness to his will. Imagine a vessel completely filled with God's light, his love, his purity. That's what we're contemplating with Mary's Immaculate Conception.
That image is truly awe-inspiring. It helps us to grasp the magnitude of this feast.
Theologians often talk about how the grace Mary received at her conception was greater than what most saints achieve after a lifetime of seeking holiness. It really speaks volumes about her special place in God's plan.
It's almost beyond our understanding. How did this incredible grace show itself in Mary's life? How did it shape her choices, her actions, her very being?
Well, that's where Mary becomes such a powerful example for us. She didn't just possess this grace, she lived it fully. It flowed through her in every thought, every word, every action. St. John of the Cross, the great Carmelite mystic, he called Mary the prototype of perfect union with God.
That's profound. And it speaks so deeply to our Carmelite spirituality, that search for deep intimacy with God through contemplation and detachment from worldly things.
St. John of the Cross, he spoke of two conditions for reaching that union with God. First, there can't be anything in the soul's will that opposes God's will. No holding back, no competing desires.
A complete surrender to God's plan.
Exactly. And the second, the human will must be moved only by God's will. And this is where Mary's Immaculate Conception becomes so important. You see, preserved from the stain of original sin, she didn't even have the slightest leaning towards selfishness. Her every action, every thought came from a heart perfectly aligned with God.
What an incredible example of what's possible when we surrender to God completely. But I imagine that level of surrender can feel out of reach, even a bit daunting.
It is a high calling, for sure. But Mary's life, it shows us that this union with God isn't some distant abstract ideal. It's a lived reality, a path we are all invited to walk. And thankfully, we don't walk this path alone.
And divine intimacy makes that point so well. It doesn't just present Mary as this perfect figure far off in the distance. It calls her mother, inviting us to come closer to her to ask for her guidance. There's a beautiful passage that expresses this so tenderly. "O my child, hear me. Blessed are they who keep my ways. He who finds me finds life and will obtain salvation from the Lord."
Such a beautiful reminder. Mary is not just our queen, but also our mother, walking with us on our journey of faith. She understands our struggles, our doubts, and our longing for God, and she wants to lead us closer to her Son, the source of all grace and life. This image of Mary as mother, it really fits with our Carmelite understanding of her. She's not some distant figure, to admire from afar, but a loving mother who guides us, encourages us, prays for us on our journey toward God.
It is comforting to know we have such a powerful intercessor, someone who really understands what it means to be human.
And don't forget, Mary's purity that we celebrate on this feast, it's not just physical, it's a purity of heart, a complete transparency to God's will. This purity allowed her to say yes to God again and again, her famous fiat echoing throughout her life.
This fiat of Mary's, it always fascinates me. We often think about her first yes at the Annunciation, but you're suggesting that this surrender to God's will, it marked her whole life.
Exactly. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was a way of being, a constant openness to God that filled every part of her life. Think about all she went through. Leaving home for Bethlehem, that humble stable, fleeing to Egypt, witnessing her son's suffering. Through it all, she remained steadfast, trusting, and obedient.
It reminds us that holiness isn't about avoiding suffering or seeking an easy life. It's about staying true to God's will, even in the midst of trials.
You got it. And Mary's example, it shows us that this kind of faithfulness, it's possible. We will face difficulties, but we can face them with grace and courage, knowing God is with us.
Divine intimacy emphasizes how Mary's purity was like a beacon, guiding her to a deeper and deeper union with God. For us, living in a world full of distractions, her example is such a strong path forward.
In our Carmelite tradition, we call Mary the Star of the Sea, a guiding light for those seeking God amidst the storms. Her purity, her unwavering yes to God, it shines so brightly for us, showing the way to holiness.
I love how the book highlights that Mary's yes wasn't just for big moments. It was part of her daily life. In her interactions, her quiet prayers, even the simplest tasks, it challenges me to see my own life, even the mundane parts, as opportunities for communion with God.
That's such a beautiful insight. Mary reminds us holiness isn't found in extraordinary feats, but in embracing each moment, those ordinary tasks that make up our days. She brought prayer and devotion to our daily life, and we are called to do the same, to bring that awareness of God into our work, our relationships, even our rest.
It's encouraging that we don't have to achieve some superhuman level of detachment to live a holy life. We can find God in the everyday, even with all the noise and distractions of modern life.
Absolutely. And Mary's example shows us this constant, yes, it's possible, it takes effort, it takes intentionality, but it's a path that leads to true freedom and joy, a path to sharing in the very life of God.
And as we move closer to Christmas, this time of joyful anticipation, it's good to remember that Mary is walking this path with us. She isn't just a model of perfection, but a loving mother who wants our holiness even more than we do.
She understands our weaknesses. She knows how hard it is to live in a world that pulls us away from God. And she offers her compassion, her prayers to help us stay focused on what truly matters. It's like she's saying, don't be afraid. I'm here. Let's walk this path together.
Such a beautiful image to carry with us, especially during Advent. As we prepare to celebrate Christ's birth, we can reflect on Mary's Immaculate Conception, not just a theology, but as a source of hope and inspiration for our own spiritual journeys.
Her example encourages us to ask, what can I offer God this Advent? What needs purifying in my heart? Where can I more fully say yes to his will? These are the questions Mary's Immaculate Conception poses as we journey towards the manger.
Thinking about Mary's Immaculate Conception, it's her complete surrender to God's will that really stands out. That fiat we've been talking about, it feels like the very core of her holiness.
You're right. It is. And as we've explored, it wasn't passive. It was a choice, an active embracing of God's plan, a willingness to be part of his work, even when it meant going through uncertainty and suffering.
It makes us think about our own relationship with God's will. Are we open to his leading, even when it's not easy, even when it shakes things up? What would it mean for us to say yes that radically in our own lives?
Important questions, especially during Advent. It's a time to get ready, a time of waiting. Like Mary preparing for Christ, we're called to look inward to see if anything's blocking us from fully embracing God's will.
Maybe it's pride or being afraid of what we don't know, maybe holding on to our own desires too tightly. Those things make it hard to let go, to surrender to God's plan, even when we know deep down his way is best for us.
Surrendering to God's will, it's a lifelong journey. But Mary shows us it's possible. And it gives us hope. She shows us that surrendering isn't a burden, it's a path to freedom and joy. It's how we become who we're meant to be.
And Mary, our loving mother, she's right there with us. She understands our struggles. She prays for us, drawing us closer to the source of all grace.
As we get ready to celebrate Christ's birth, let's turn to Mary, the Immaculate Conception. Let's ask for her prayers. May she help us purify our hearts, to trust in God's plan more deeply, and to say our own fiat with courage and conviction.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Immaculate Conception. May this feast day be a time of grace and renewal for you, and may we all journey together toward the light of Christ's coming.
Thank you for spending this time with us today, reflecting on the wisdom of the Carmelite saints. I hope these words have inspired and uplifted you. Until next time, may God bless us and keep us close to His heart. Take care and see you soon.